Stop scrolling for 1 second. Think about this morning. The moment you got dressed, did you reach for the jeans, or did you quietly put them back and grab the looser pair instead, the ones that just feel more comfortable today? I'm not here to make you feel bad about that. I'm here to tell you something that genuinely surprised me when I first came across it. The people who ate the way we're about to eat right now didn't have gyms. They didn't have protein powder or apps that count macros or 5 a.m. alarms for cardio. They'd cancel by Thursday anyway. Some of what they ate is written down in a book that's over 2,000 years old, a book that names cucumbers, garlic, olive oil, and honey specifically, long before anyone had invented the phrase Mediterranean diet. And today, the region that still eats this way has some of the lowest rates of heart disease on the planet. You've probably tried the 30-day challenge, the app that tracks every step, the green juice that tasted like a lawn you mowed that morning. None of that means it didn't work. Some of it genuinely did, for a while. It's just that it never quite felt like something you could keep doing on a random Tuesday, 3 weeks in, tired, with a half-empty fridge and zero motivation to meal prep anything. What I'm about to show you isn't a challenge. It's just food. The kind you could make tonight without hunting down a single strange ingredient. So, here's what we're doing. 4 salads. Real ones. The ones I actually make on repeat in my own kitchen, not styled for camera dishes. I'd never eat twice. Everyone takes under 15 minutes, and none of them ask you to give anything up. Along the way, I'll show you exactly what's happening in your body when you eat them, and one true piece of history for each, the kind you didn't learn in school. Stick around until the end, because salad number 4 is the one people message me for more than anything else I've ever posted. But let's start with the one that started all of this for me. Salad 1. The Mediterranean chickpea salad. Quick question. How many cans of chickpeas are sitting in your pantry right now, completely untouched? Be honest. Most of us buy them with the best intentions and then just forget they exist. Well, grab one. You'll need 400 grams, drained and rinsed under cold water until it runs clear. That step matters more than people think, because the canning liquid can leave a slightly metallic taste behind if you skip it. While that's draining, here's something I didn't know until I actually went looking for it. Chickpeas belong to a food family that gets a strange, specific mention in the Old Testament, in a story that has nothing to do with diets at all. In the book of Daniel, a young Daniel and 3 friends are brought into the Babylonian king's court and offered the richest food and wine from the royal table. Daniel asks for something else instead, what the King James translation simply calls pulse, the old word for legumes, the exact food, family, chickpeas belong to, and water. 10 days later, the text says he and his friends looked healthier and better nourished than every other young man eating from the king's own table. I'm not going to tell you. A bowl of chickpeas will outperform a royal banquet by day 10. But it's a strangely accurate preview of something nutrition science had to rediscover thousands of years later, and one of the oldest recorded moments of someone choosing simple, plant-based food on purpose and turning out more than fine because of it. Now slice 2 cucumbers into half moons, or cubes if you like, a bit more bite. Half 350 grams of cherry tomatoes. Cube 1 yellow bell pepper. Toss in a handful of pitted Kalamata olives, or honestly, whatever decent olives you already have open in the fridge. This recipe isn't precious about it, and thinly slice half a red onion. Chop a small bunch of parsley and add everything to the bowl with your chickpeas. It's not just filler either. Parsley is a natural mild diuretic, which is part of why Mediterranean dishes lean on it so heavily. It takes the edge off everyday bloating, the puffy kind that has nothing to do with body fat at all. Here's another one. You'll probably recognize the second you hear it. Deep in the book of Numbers, the Israelites, wandering through the wilderness and living on manna, start complaining loudly about the food they miss from back home. And the specific things they name are almost funny to read now. Fish, cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. 3 of those 5 are sitting in your bowl right now. Comfort food, it turns out, hasn't changed nearly as much as we like to think it has. For the dressing, zest 1 lemon or lime straight into a small bowl, then squeeze in the juice of about 1/2 to 3/4 of it. Add 2 cloves of garlic, grated or minced, a teaspoon of honey, 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, and salt and pepper to taste. Whisk in 4 tablespoons of olive oil until it comes together. You'll know it's right the second you taste it off the spoon, then pour it over the salad and toss well. Quick note on that garlic. While we're here, crushing or grating it rather than slicing it actually matters. It triggers an enzyme reaction that produces a compound called allicin, responsible for both the sharper bite and most of garlic's studied cardiovascular benefits. Sliced garlic barely produces any. This is where the science gets genuinely interesting. Chickpeas are high in both fiber and plant protein, and they contain something called resistant starch, a carbohydrate your small intestine can't fully break down, so it travels down to your gut, where it feeds your beneficial bacteria, and, in the process, triggers hormones like GLP-1 and PYY, the same signals that tell your brain you're actually full. That's not a guess. It's one of the more consistently repeated findings in legume research. And the olive oil isn't just there for flavor. Large studies, including the well-known Spanish Predimed trial, which followed thousands of people over years, linked a diet built around olive oil as the primary fat source to a meaningfully lower rate of heart disease compared to a standard low-fat diet. It's not the oil alone doing that. It's the whole pattern. But the oil is a genuinely important piece of it. Crumble 200 grams of feta over the top and toss gently 1 more time. If you've got arugula sitting in the crisper drawer, throw in a handful. Its peppery bite plays beautifully against the sweetness of the tomatoes. A pinch of sumac on top, if you have it, adds a lemony tang that'll make people ask what's actually in your dressing. Now, if you've already quietly decided this is the safe one, the good, comforting, slightly predictable option, hold that thought. Because the next salad on this list takes a completely different shape, and it's the one I bring when I actually want to impress somebody. Salad 2. The Mediterranean Pasta Salad. Here's a question for you. Have you ever ordered the salad at a restaurant purely because you felt like you were supposed to, while the pasta at the next table looked so good you could barely focus on your own plate? I have. More times than I'd like to admit. Which is exactly why this next one exists, because you should never have to choose between the thing that feels good and the thing that's good for you. This one is both. Boil 250 grams of pasta penne or fusilli. Hold a dressing best, since the ridges and curls actually catch it until al dente. Then drain it and let it cool slightly while you prep everything else. Cooked al dente rather than soft. Pasta actually has a meaningfully lower glycemic index. The starch structure stays a little more intact, so it digests more slowly. Structurally, this is still a grain dish, and grain, specifically wheat and barley, shows up as one of the defining features of what the Bible calls the Promised Land itself. In Deuteronomy, the land is described as one of wheat, barley, vines, figs, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey. 7 foods so central to the region's identity that they're still referred to today in Jewish tradition as the 7 species. Your pasta and your olive oil, sitting in the same bowl 3,000 years later, are 2 of those same 7. While the pasta cools, chop 200 grams of tomatoes and 200 grams of cucumber into bite-sized pieces and dice 1 bell pepper. Thinly slice a red onion. But here's a trick that changes everything about raw onion in a salad. Pour hot water over it and let it sit for about 5 minutes before draining. It softens that sharp, eye-watering bite without actually cooking the onion. So you keep the flavor and lose the aftertaste that makes people quietly pick around it. If you've ever done exactly that at someone else's dinner table, pick the raw onion out and hope nobody noticed this, fixes it for good. Add a tablespoon of wine vinegar or apple cider vinegar to the vegetables while the onion soaks, along with 200 grams of pitted Kalamata olives, named, incidentally, for Kalamata, the Greek city they come from, and just as rich in heart-healthy monounsaturated fat as the olive oil already waiting in the dressing. There's a small scene in the book of Ruth I think about every time I reach for vinegar. Boaz, a wealthy landowner, invites Ruth, a widow, gleaning leftover grain in his fields, just to survive, to sit with his workers and dip her bread in the vinegar. It's an easy detail to miss, but it's one of the earliest written records we have of bread and vinegar being eaten together as an ordinary, everyday meal, not a delicacy lunch for a woman with nothing else, in a field that wasn't even hers. Grain plus acid, which is more or less exactly what you're holding in this bowl right now. For the dressing, whisk together 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, a minced garlic clove if you're using one, a teaspoon of oregano, and salt and pepper to taste. Toss the pasta in with the vegetables, pour the dressing over everything, and mix well. Chopped parsley or cilantro on top adds a nice hit of freshness if you want it. Finish with 200 grams of feta, folded in gently so it doesn't turn the whole bowl pink from the tomatoes. On the science side, that spoonful of vinegar is doing more than you'd think. Several studies have found that vinegar's acetic acid can blunt the blood sugar spike that follows a carb-heavy meal, likely by slowing down how quickly your stomach empties its contents. That's not a reason to drown everything in it, but it's a genuinely good reason to always dress your pasta salad instead of eating the noodles plain. Want to take it one step further? Swap in a whole wheat or legume-based pasta using the exact same method and dressing, and you'll roughly double the fiber, which means a slower, steadier rise in blood sugar, and a fuller feeling that actually lasts through the afternoon, instead of sending you back to the pantry an hour later. It's a small swap, but it's the kind that quietly adds up over a month of lunches without you ever having to think about it twice. Now, if pasta and chickpeas feel like the 2 expected Mediterranean staples, the next salad is going to catch you a little off guard because it swaps the grain out entirely for something creamier, and it has a dressing trick in it I honestly didn't discover until a friend from Naples corrected the way I'd been making it for years. Salad 3. The white bean and mozzarella salad. Let me ask you something. Most recipes never bother asking, what do you actually bring to a party when you want people to remember it, not just politely eat it because it's there? I used to bring the same pasta salad every single time, and I could tell quietly, but clearly, that people were tired of it. This is the one that replaced it, and it hasn't lost yet. People ask for the recipe before they've even finished their first plate, which is the only review that's ever mattered to me. Start with 1 large can of white beans, about 700 grams, drained and rinsed well, then tipped into a big bowl. There's a small, easy-to-miss line in the 2nd book of Samuel, from one of the lowest points in King David's life, fleeing his own son's rebellion, exhausted, out in the wilderness, where a group of people show up with provisions to keep his army fed. Among the food listed: wheat, barley, beans, and lentils. 3,000 years later, we're still reaching for beans, in more or less that same situation you might find yourself in on any given Tuesday. Tired, needing something that'll actually fill you up without much effort. Add 250 grams of chopped cucumber, 10 to 12 half cherry tomatoes, 1 diced red bell pepper, and if you like a sharper bite, a small red onion, finely sliced. Add 200 grams of pitted Kalamata olives. Drain the liquid from 150 grams of fresh mozzarella balls and slice them in half, so the creamy centers actually make contact with the dressing instead of hiding inside a whole ball. Tear 5 mint leaves and 5 basil leaves in by hand, rather than cutting them with a knife. A blade bruises the edges and turns them slightly bitter and dark, while tearing keeps everything bright. It's a small detail, but it's the kind of thing that makes people ask what you did differently. Mint, specifically, gets its own small but memorable line in the New Testament. In the Gospels, Jesus criticizes religious leaders for being scrupulously careful to tithe, give away 1/10 of even their garden herbs like mint, while ignoring far bigger matters of justice and mercy. It's a story about priorities, not cooking, but it's proof that mint was common and valuable enough in everyday Mediterranean life 2,000 years ago to be worth arguing about in the first place. Both basil and mint, for what it's worth, are loaded with plant compounds called polyphenols, the same broad antioxidant family found in green tea, which is one more quiet argument for using a heavy hand with fresh herbs instead of treating them as an afterthought. Garnish. For the dressing, whisk 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil with 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar, 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, a minced garlic clove, and sea salt and black pepper to taste. That single teaspoon of mustard is doing more work than its size suggests, which feels fitting, since mustard has its own famous line in the Gospels too, in one of the best-known parables in the New Testament, where the kingdom of heaven is compared to a mustard seed, the smallest of all seeds, yet capable of growing into something far bigger than its size ever implies. Pour the dressing over the salad and toss gently, because you don't want to break up the mozzarella. Here's the practical, science-backed reason this one earns a permanent spot in your weekly rotation. White beans are loaded with resistant starch and soluble fiber, both of which slow digestion and produce a steadier, more gradual rise in blood sugar than almost any refined carbohydrate could manage. Combine that with the protein and calcium in fresh mozzarella, which, because it's a fresh cheese rather than an aged one, actually carries noticeably less sodium than something like feta or parmesan, and you get a salad that keeps you full for hours, not 40 minutes. And unlike a leafy green salad that wilts into sadness by day 2, the beans and mozzarella genuinely hold their texture in the fridge for 2 to 3 days, which means you can make this once and eat well for half the week. If anything, it tastes better on day 2, once the garlic and oregano have had time to really settle into the beans. I told you the 4th salad was the one people ask me for the most, and I meant it. It's got a texture nobody expects from a Mediterranean salad, a 5-minute stovetop trick that turns a plain can of chickpeas into something closer to a topping than a side dish, and one ingredient in the dressing that has absolutely nothing to do with the Mediterranean at all, which is exactly why I need to tell you where it actually comes from. Salade four, the crispy garlic chickpea and avocado salad. Last one. And I want to open this one with an honest admission. instead of a question. Not everything in this salad is ancient. One ingredient in it didn't exist anywhere near the Mediterranean until roughly 500 years ago, and I'll tell you exactly which one in a minute, because knowing the difference between what's genuinely old and what's a modern add-on makes you appreciate both more. Instead of pretending your whole plate has some unbroken 3,000-year tradition behind it, start with the part that actually is ancient. 400 grams of canned chickpeas, drained, rinsed, and this step matters, patted completely dry with a towel. Any leftover moisture makes them steam instead of crisp in the pan. Heat 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil in a skillet over medium heat. Add 2 to 3 crushed garlic cloves along with a bit of rosemary, and let it cook for about 30 seconds, just until fragrant, not browned, or it turns bitter. Tip in the chickpeas, sprinkle over a teaspoon of paprika, and cook for 5 to 8 minutes, shaking the pan occasionally until they're lightly golden and audibly crackling. That crackle is the Maillard reaction, the same browning process responsible for a seared steak or toasted bread, and it's the reason a plain chickpea suddenly tastes roasted and nutty, almost like a crouton, without a single breadcrumb involved. The rosemary is doing quiet work too. It contains a compound called carnosic acid, an antioxidant that's actually been studied for how it behaves under heat, helping protect the oil. It's cooked in from breaking down at high temperatures. Even the paprika earns its place. Made from dried, ground sweet peppers, it carries its own small dose of the same antioxidant carotenoids you'd get from a fresh bell pepper. Let them cool slightly while you build the rest of the bowl. Slice 300 to 400 grams of cucumber, roughly 3 or 4 medium ones, into half moons, and thinly slice a red onion. Dice, 1 avocado. And here's that honest admission. The avocado is the one ingredient across all 4 of these salads, with no place at all in ancient Mediterranean or biblical cooking. It's native to Central America, and it didn't reach Europe or the Mediterranean basin until after the Columbian Exchange in the 1500s, brought back across the Atlantic, more than 1,000 years after the events of the Bible. I include it anyway, because it's simply one of the best sources of monounsaturated fat and potassium you can put in a bowl ounce for ounce. It actually contains more potassium than a banana. I'd just rather tell you that, honestly, than invent a fake ancient legend to make it fit. The honey in the dressing, on the other hand, has some of the deepest roots of anything on this list. The Book of Proverbs contains a line that reads almost like a modern wellness influencer wrote it. Eat honey because it is good. It's meant as a metaphor for wisdom, but it also happens to be straightforwardly true as dietary advice, then and now, in reasonable amounts. Honey has always been treated as a genuinely valued food, never a guilty one. Finely chop a bunch of fresh herbs, parsley, dill, or mint, whichever you happen to have, and add it in. For the dressing, whisk together 3 tablespoons of olive oil, the juice of about half a lemon, a tablespoon of mustard, a tablespoon of that same biblically endorsed honey, and salt to taste, until completely smooth. Toast 2 to 3 tablespoons of pine nuts in a dry skillet for 30 seconds to a minute, just until you can smell them. They burn fast, so don't walk away. Pine nuts have their own long history in this region. Roman cookbooks, nearly 2,000 years old, already call for them, harvested by hand from stone pine cones, the same slow, laborious process still used today, which is part of why they've always been one of the more expensive nuts on the shelf. Pour the dressing over the salad, add in the warm, crispy chickpeas and the toasted pine nuts, and toss everything gently so the avocado doesn't turn to mush. If you've only ever thought of salad as the cold, sad plate that shows up before the real food arrives, this is the one that changes your mind. Warm, crackling chickpeas against cold cucumber, and creamy avocado is a contrast that just works. One more genuinely interesting detail before we wrap up. Pine nuts contain a compound called pinolenic acid, and a handful of small clinical studies have found it may trigger the release of appetite-regulating hormones like CCK and GLP-1, the exact same. I'm satisfied signals we talked about with the chickpeas earlier. That could help explain why a small handful of pine nuts tends to be more filling than its calorie count alone suggests. The evidence is still early and the studies are small, so I won't oversell it, but it's a good reason to reach for pine nuts over croutons the next time you're building a salad. Crumble 150 grams of feta over the top, finish with a crack of black pepper, and that's your fourth and final salad. So, out of the four, the chickpea salad that started all of this for me, the pasta salad that finally let me stop feeling guilty about carbs, the white bean salad that's replaced every potluck dish I used to bring, and this last one with the crispy garlic chickpeas and the warm-cold contrast. Which one are you actually making tonight? Here's the thing I keep coming back to. None of these ingredients are new. Cucumbers, garlic, olive oil, honey, beans. People have been eating this exact combination for thousands of years, long before Mediterranean diet was a phrase anyone needed to invent, because for a huge part of the world, it was simply called dinner. Somewhere between then and now, we made eating well feel complicated. It isn't. It's a can of chickpeas, whatever vegetables are already in your fridge, and about 15 minutes. And if nothing in any of these four salads struck you as some exotic, hard-to-find ingredient, that's kind of the point. This was never about a superfood shipped in from the other side of the world. It was about paying attention to food that's been sitting quietly in plain sight the whole time, some of it for 3,000 years. Make one of these tonight, and tell me in the comments which one you picked. And if you end up making all four this week, I genuinely want to know which one your family asked for again. I'll see you in the next one.